What if I told you that God is actually calling you to start your own business? What if living paycheck to paycheck is not God's plan for you? The truth is, the Bible is full of examples of Christians who prospered through entrepreneurship, yet many still struggle financially, believing that money and faith don't mix. So why do so many Christians still face financial hardship? Why are 80% of the world's billionaires entrepreneurs while most believers rely solely on salaries? And most importantly, how can you achieve financial freedom by following biblical principles of entrepreneurship? By the end of this video, you'll understand why God calls you to create wealth, how Jesus and his disciples applied principles we use in business today, and what practical steps you can take right now to break free from financial dependence. Get ready, because what you're about to learn might completely change your perspective on money, faith, and success. The illusion of financial security. Why living paycheck to paycheck is not God's plan. Many people believe that having a stable job is the best way to ensure financial security. However, this mindset can be a dangerous trap. The reality is that depending on a single paycheck places your life in the hands of others, your boss, the economy, or even an unexpected crisis. God never intended for his children to live in fear of the 5th or 10th of the month. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender." In other words, relying on one income source makes us vulnerable, while God desires for us to have autonomy and abundance. The problem with living paycheck to paycheck is not just financial, it affects emotional and spiritual well-being as well. Constant stress over bills impacts health, relationships, and even prayer life. When someone is always worried about money, it becomes difficult to truly trust God. The enemy wants to keep people too busy surviving to ever think about thriving. But Jesus came to give life in abundance, John 10:10, and that includes financial abundance. The key to breaking this cycle is shifting from a survival mindset to a builder's mindset. Instead of working just to pay bills, we must learn how to generate resources that work for us. The Bible provides several examples of people who prospered because they built something of their own, like Abraham, who not only received God's promises but also managed wealth and territories. God calls us to be leaders, not just employees. And maybe you're wondering, but how do I do that? How can I escape this routine of just working to pay bills? Well, that's exactly the question we'll explore in the next topic. The myth that money is evil. What the Bible really teaches about prosperity. A common misconception among Christians is that wealth is sinful, or that wanting financial success is somehow unholy. Many people misquote 1 Timothy 6:10, saying, "Money is the root of all evil." However, the actual verse states, "The love of money is the root of all evil." Money itself is neither good nor evil. It is a tool. Just like fire, it can be used for good, to cook food and bring warmth, or for destruction, to burn things down. The real question is, how do we use it? God never condemned wealth. In fact, many of his greatest servants were wealthy. Abraham was rich in livestock, gold, and silver. Joseph managed the economy of an entire nation. King Solomon was the richest man in history, and yet God called him wise. The problem arises when people make money their god, prioritizing wealth over faith, integrity, and generosity. But when money is managed according to biblical principles, it becomes a powerful instrument for doing good. Financial prosperity allows believers to be a blessing to others. The more we have, the more we can give. Churches can fund missions, families can provide for their children's future, and communities can flourish when financial resources are abundant. Proverbs 13:22 states, "A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children." If money were inherently evil, why would God instruct his people to build generational wealth? If we stop seeing money as something negative and instead as a divine resource, we can start using it the way God intended, to grow, to give, and to glorify him. But how do we transition from struggling financially to managing wealth in a biblical way? That's where the next topic takes us. The biblical story of the indebted widow, a divine manual for Christian entrepreneurship. In 2 Kings 4, we find the story of a widow who was drowning in debt after her husband, a prophet, passed away. She cried out to Elisha, desperate for a solution, fearing that her creditors would take her children as slaves. Many believers today find themselves in a similar situation, overwhelmed by financial struggles, praying for a miracle and wondering how God will provide. What's fascinating about this passage is that Elisha didn't just hand her money or tell her to wait for supernatural provision. Instead, he asked her a critical question: "What do you have in your house?" This question reveals a profound truth. God often provides through what we already possess. The widow had nothing but a small jar of oil, yet that was enough for God to perform a miracle. Elisha instructed her to collect as many jars as possible, pour the oil into them, and sell it. This wasn't just a miracle, it was a business strategy. God didn't just eliminate her debt. He gave her a way to sustain herself and her family. This shows us that sometimes the answer to financial struggles isn't just praying for money, but recognizing the resources God has already placed in our hands. Too many Christians wait for financial breakthroughs without realizing that God has already given them skills, talents, and opportunities to create wealth. Maybe you have a passion for baking, writing, designing, or teaching. Maybe you have years of experience in a field but have only used it to make someone else rich. Just like the widow, we must recognize that what we already have can be multiplied. God's miracles often come through our obedience and action. The story of the widow teaches us that entrepreneurship is not just a worldly concept. It is a biblical principle. God wants His people to have financial independence, not just for personal gain, but to be able to bless others. But how do we apply these biblical principles in today's world? Well, let's look at another powerful example: the business-minded disciples of Jesus, and the entrepreneurial disciples. What we can learn from Christ's business model. Many people see Jesus as only a spiritual leader, but they overlook the fact that He also operated with an entrepreneurial mindset. Before starting His ministry, Jesus worked as a carpenter, a skilled trade that required craftsmanship, business dealings, and customer relationships. But even more revealing is the fact that several of His disciples were business owners before they followed Him. Peter, Andrew, James, and John were professional fishermen who ran a business together, and Matthew was a tax collector, essentially working in finance. This wasn't a coincidence. Jesus chose men who understood leadership, risk-taking, and financial management. When He called Peter and Andrew, He said, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Matthew 4:19. He didn't say they would stop fishing. He simply shifted their purpose. This teaches us that business skills can be used for more than just personal profit. They can be leveraged to advance God's kingdom. The entrepreneurial mindset is not just about making money. It's about solving problems, serving people, and creating opportunities. Even the way Jesus managed His ministry reflected business principles. He delegated responsibilities, had a treasurer, Judas, and ensured that resources were handled wisely. He multiplied food for thousands, showing that true leaders find ways to expand what they have. His parable of the talents in Matthew 25 teaches that God expects us to invest and multiply what He gives us. The servant who buried his talent instead of using it was rebuked, while those who increased their resources were rewarded. So if Jesus valued financial wisdom and business strategy, why do so many Christians hesitate to pursue entrepreneurship? Could it be that many still believe in the myth that financial success is unspiritual? That brings us to our next discussion: why faith and finances must go hand in hand. Entrepreneurship as faith in action. Why waiting for a financial miracle might be a mistake. Many Christians pray for financial breakthroughs, expecting God to drop money into their laps. While God is fully capable of supernatural provision, He often works through our actions, not just our prayers. James 2:17 reminds us, "Faith without works is dead." That means praying for financial success without taking practical steps is like planting seeds but never watering them. Faith is not just believing, it's acting on that belief. The widow in 2 Kings didn't just sit and wait for her debts to disappear. She followed instructions, used what she had, and worked to multiply it. Likewise, Noah didn't just pray for safety. He built the ark. The Israelites didn't just pray for victory. They marched around Jericho. Over and over in the Bible, miracles happen when people take action. If you're struggling financially, ask yourself, am I waiting for a miracle, or am I stepping out in faith to create one? Entrepreneurship is an expression of faith. It requires trusting God with uncertainty, stepping out of comfort zones, and believing that He has given us everything we need to succeed. Too often, Christians fall into the trap of waiting for the right time or hoping that the money will just appear. But Ecclesiastes 11:4 warns, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap." In other words, waiting for perfect conditions will keep you stuck forever. If you've been hesitating to start a business, to invest, or to pursue a God-given idea, it's time to act. God honors those who step out in faith and put their talents to use. But what does success really look like? What do those who have achieved financial freedom understand that others don't? That's exactly what we'll uncover in the next topic. Eye-opening statistics. What millionaires know that most Christians ignore. Most people believe that wealth comes from inheritance, luck, or a high-paying job. But statistics tell a different story. Studies show that 70% of millionaires are self-made, meaning they didn't inherit their money, they built it. Even more shocking, 80% of the world's top billionaires are entrepreneurs, not employees. This means the majority of financially free people didn't achieve wealth by working a 9-to-5 job, but by starting their own businesses. The Bible supports this truth. Proverbs 13:22 states, "A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children." This verse doesn't suggest that wealth just appears. It implies financial planning, investment, and business growth. God designed wealth to be multiplied, not just earned and spent. If 70% of millionaires built their wealth through entrepreneurship, why do so many Christians still rely solely on salaries? The answer is mindset. Many people are conditioned to believe that financial security comes from a paycheck, not ownership. Here's another shocking fact. The average millionaire has at least 7 income streams. This means they don't just rely on one source of money, they create multiple ways for wealth to flow. Compare this to the average person who depends entirely on a single paycheck. The difference is not intelligence or luck, it's knowledge and action. The rich don't work harder, they work smarter. They invest in businesses, real estate, and other assets that generate income even while they sleep. If wealth building is a biblical principle and proven by statistics, why don't more Christians take advantage of it? The problem isn't opportunity, it's a lack of knowledge. But once you shift your mindset and start recognizing your God-given talents, you can take the first step toward financial freedom. And speaking of talents, how do you discover the unique skills God has placed in you? That's exactly what we'll dive into next. The first step to entrepreneurship: how to discover the talent God placed in you. Many people assume that starting a business requires a revolutionary idea or a huge investment, but in reality, the foundation of entrepreneurship is simply identifying a need and using your skills to meet it. The Bible teaches us that God has given each of us unique gifts. Romans 12:6 states, "We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us." This means that your path to financial freedom isn't about copying someone else, it's about recognizing what God has already placed inside you. Think about it. What do people naturally come to you for? Maybe you're great at fixing things, cooking, organizing, or teaching. Maybe you have a talent for writing, speaking, or designing. Your business doesn't have to be complicated, it just needs to solve a problem. In 2 Kings 4, Elisha asked the widow, "What do you have in your house?" She thought she had nothing, but she had a little oil, just enough for God to multiply. The same applies to you. You already have something that can be turned into a business. One of the biggest reasons people never start is fear. They think, what if I fail? But what if you succeed? The only way to find out is to step out in faith. Proverbs 18:16 says, "A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men." In other words, when you start using your God-given abilities, opportunities will open up. It's not about waiting for the perfect idea, it's about taking action with what you have now. So how do you move from discovery to execution? How do you start thinking like an entrepreneur instead of just an employee? That's exactly what we'll cover in the next topic. The danger of an employee mindset. How thinking like an owner transforms your finances. Most people are trained from childhood to follow a specific path. Go to school, get good grades, find a stable job, and work until retirement. While there's nothing wrong with having a job, relying only on employment for financial security is risky. The Bible warns against this kind of dependence in Ecclesiastes 11:2. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. This verse highlights the importance of having multiple sources of income, something most employees don't have. The difference between an employee mindset and an owner's mindset is huge. Employees trade time for money, which means their income is limited by how many hours they work. Business owners, on the other hand, create systems that generate income even when they're not working. This is why wealthy individuals prioritize ownership, whether it's in business, real estate, or investments. The key to financial freedom isn't just working harder, it's working smarter. Jesus himself demonstrated this principle. In Luke 19, he told the parable of the minas, where a master gave his servants money to invest. The ones who multiplied their money were rewarded, while the one who did nothing lost everything. This shows that God expects us to increase what he gives us. If we only rely on a paycheck and never create additional sources of income, we're not fully walking in God's plan for financial stewardship. The good news? Shifting from an employee mindset to an ownership mindset is possible. It starts with learning, planning, and taking action. But how do you break free from paycheck dependency and start building wealth? Let's talk about that in the next topic. Breaking the cycle of financial dependence, why relying only on a salary is risky. Many people believe that having a steady job means financial security. But what happens if that job disappears? The truth is, depending on a single paycheck is one of the riskiest financial decisions a person can make. Proverbs 27:1 warns, "Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring." In today's world, companies downsize, industries change, and unexpected crises can wipe out jobs overnight. If your only income source disappears, what's your backup plan? This is why the wealthy prioritize multiple streams of income. The average millionaire has at least 7 different income sources. This might include a business, real estate, investments, or royalties. The reason is simple. When one income stream slows down, others keep flowing. Compare this to the average person, who relies 100% on their job. If that job is lost, they have nothing to fall back on. Financial freedom isn't about how much you earn, it's about how many sources your income comes from. The Bible teaches us to be financially wise and proactive. In Genesis 41, Joseph advised Pharaoh to store resources during years of abundance, to prepare for difficult times. Those who follow this principle today build assets that generate wealth over time. Whether it's a business, real estate, or investments, creating multiple income streams protects you from financial uncertainty. So what's the first step to breaking the cycle of financial dependence? How can you take control of your financial future and start building wealth? That's exactly what we'll explore in the next topic. Action plan. The first 3 practical steps to start your own business. Understanding that entrepreneurship is a biblical and financially wise path is one thing. Taking action is another. Many people get stuck in analysis paralysis, overthinking every detail and never starting. Proverbs 16:3 offers simple but powerful advice. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. The key is to start moving, trusting that God will guide you along the way. So where do you begin? Here are 3 foundational steps to get your business off the ground. Step 1. Identify your strengths and the market need. What are you naturally good at? What do people already ask you for help with? Your business should be built around a skill or passion that aligns with a real-world demand. If you love baking, could you start selling cakes? If you're great at organizing, could you offer services as a professional organizer? Your business doesn't have to be complicated, it just needs to solve a problem for someone. Step 2. Start small, but start now. Many people wait until they have the perfect idea, a big investment, or ideal conditions. But the truth is, most successful businesses start small. The key is to launch with what you have and refine along the way. The widow in 2 Kings 4 didn't wait until she had more oil. She used the little she had and God multiplied it. Whether it's selling products, offering services, or launching an online business, the most important step is to start. Step 3. Build a financial plan and reinvest wisely. A common mistake new entrepreneurs make is spending all their earnings instead of reinvesting. The goal is to turn your small beginnings into sustainable income. Set aside a portion of your profits to grow your business. Proverbs 21:5 reminds us, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty." If you manage your finances wisely, what starts as a side income can grow into a full-time business. Taking these first steps isn't just about making money, it's about walking in God's purpose for your life. The question is, will you take action? Will you step into the financial freedom that God has prepared for you? That's a decision only you can make. Now that you've seen how biblical principles align with entrepreneurship, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep waiting for financial change? Or will you take action and start building the future God has for you? The truth is, God has already given you the gifts, skills, and opportunities. You just need to take a step of faith. Think about it. What business idea has been on your heart for a long time? What talent do you have that could become a source of income? Don't let fear or doubt hold you back. Proverbs 16:9 says, "The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps." You don't need to have everything figured out, just start and God will guide your path. Write in the comments, "God is calling me to step forward in my business. I want to hear from you. What kind of business do you want to start? Or what idea has been on your mind?" Comment below and share your thoughts. And if this message inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Most importantly, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss more content on how faith and finances work together. Your journey to financial freedom starts now, and God is calling you to take the first step.